A desert wreck was silent until it heard his voice. Then everything changed. Ethan Clark sat in the driver's seat of his small rover, scanning the endless desert with his worn-out binoculars. The planet stretched before him like a sea of gold sand, dunes rising and falling under the pale sun. Wind whistled through the rover's broken windows, carrying tiny grains that stung his skin. He adjusted his cap and stared at the horizon. Something was different today. For years, Ethan had traveled across deserts on remote planets, searching for wrecks, salvage, and lost relics of other civilizations. Most of the time, the work was quiet and lonely, but it paid well. His hands were rough from years of repairs, his clothes dusty, and his hair always sticking out in messy tufts. He liked it that way. Out here, he could think. Out here, he could find things no one else would see. He noticed a shimmer in the distance. At first, it looked like heat waves rising from the sand, but as he got closer, he realized it was metal. A large object, half buried in the dunes, reflected the sunlight. He felt a sudden jolt of excitement. His heart beat faster. Wrecks like this were rare, very rare. Ethan stopped the rover and jumped out. He brushed sand off his pants and walked toward the object. It was massive. He had seen many abandoned ships before, but this one was different. It had strange angles, almost alive in its shape. Its hull was cracked and rusted, but there were symbols etched into the metal that he had never seen before. He crouched down and ran his fingers along the smooth lines of the ship. There was a faint vibration under his touch. His eyes widened. The ship was silent. It should not move. It had been here for centuries, or at least it looked like it. Yet somehow, it felt awake. "Hello?" Ethan called out. His voice sounded strange in the vast emptiness of the desert. The wind carried it away almost immediately. He waited. Nothing happened. He frowned. "Anybody in there?" A faint hum answered him. It was soft, almost like a whisper carried through the metal of the ship. Ethan's jaw dropped. He took a cautious step back. He had heard of sentient ships in old stories, but he had never seen one. They were myths, legends told in hushed voices by old salvagers. Could this really be one? The hum grew slightly louder, pulsing in a slow rhythm. Ethan felt it in his chest, like it was calling to him. He put his hand to the metal again. The vibration followed his touch. He swallowed hard. "Okay," he whispered to himself. "This is real. This is really real." He circled the wreck, looking for an entrance. Most of the hull was sealed, bent inward and twisted, but on the side there was a hatch partially buried in sand. Ethan knelt and dug around it with his hands. Sand tumbled down the edges. After a few minutes, he managed to clear it. The hatch was heavy, but he pulled it open with a grunt. A cool shadow welcomed him inside. The interior was vast and dark. Ethan switched on his flashlight. The beam cut through layers of dust, showing walls covered with strange markings. They glowed faintly in the dim light. The air smelled of metal and oil, old and cold. It was quiet, too quiet, except for the hum he had felt outside. He stepped inside carefully. His boots made a soft thud against the floor. Every sound seemed amplified in the empty space. The walls curved around him in strange ways, almost like the ship itself was breathing. Ethan felt a shiver of excitement. He had found something incredible. Something no one else had touched for centuries. He explored the corridors slowly. Strange panels lined the walls. They had buttons, levers, and screens, but none of them worked. Ethan ran his hands over the controls, trying to understand them. A sudden spark shot from one of the panels. He jumped back but smiled. It was a good sign. The ship still had power, even if just a little. "Can you hear me?" Ethan asked aloud. He felt foolish speaking to a machine, but the hum seemed to respond. It pulsed faster for a moment, like it understood him. "I'm Ethan. I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to know your story." The hum shifted into a low voice. Not words exactly, but a sound that mimicked speech. Ethan froze. He had not expected that. His heart pounded in his chest. The voice sounded curious, almost alive. "You are awake," he said slowly, testing his own words. The voice seemed to vibrate in agreement. He stepped further inside, noticing the size of the ship. It was enormous, rooms stretched in every direction. Ceilings arched high above him and stairways led to unknown levels. The hum grew stronger in certain areas, guiding him almost like a beacon. He followed it to a room at the center of the wreck. Inside, he found a large circular platform. Lights flickered weakly above. In the center, a console hovered, half broken but functional. Ethan approached and touched it. A holographic display flickered to life, showing images of planets, stars, and ships he did not recognize. The ship was showing him its memories. Images of battlefields, alien cities, and star fleets filled the room. Ethan stared in awe. This ship had seen wars long before humans reached this planet. Its history was vast. He realized he was touching a living record of the galaxy. "Why are you here?" Ethan asked. The voice hummed, almost thoughtful. Images of ships being destroyed and colonies falling appeared in flashes. He understood. The ship had survived a great war. It had waited, silent and alone, until someone came. Ethan felt a sudden responsibility. He was not just a salvage operator now. He was the first human to awaken this ancient being, and somehow it trusted him. He took a deep breath. "I will help you," he said firmly. "I don't know how yet, but I will." The hum responded almost like a sigh. Panels shifted slightly, and a small door opened further down the corridor. Ethan smiled. The ship was guiding him. He spent hours exploring, taking notes, and scanning every detail. He found rooms filled with tools, storage areas with strange metals, and a small chamber that seemed to be a control room. None of it worked fully yet, but he could see the potential. With time, he could repair it. As night fell over the desert outside, Ethan climbed to the top deck. Stars glittered above him. He could see the dunes stretching endlessly in every direction. He imagined the ship moving through space, faster than anything humans had ever built. He imagined discovering new worlds, seeing civilizations long forgotten. The hum of the ship was steady now, almost comforting. It had learned to trust him, and he had learned to trust it. The desert was silent again, but no longer lonely. Together they had awakened something remarkable. Ethan knew this was only the beginning. He had no idea what dangers lay ahead, no idea what secrets the ship held, but he felt alive, more alive than he had ever felt in his quiet life of salvaging and exploring. He set up a small camp on the deck. A fire burned in a makeshift container, casting shadows over the strange metal walls. The hum of the ship mixed with the crackle of flames. It was an unusual, beautiful sound. Ethan spoke again. "Tomorrow we start fixing you. I don't know how, but we will. We will make you move again." The ship pulsed in response, a gentle vibration running through the deck. It seemed to understand every word. Sleep was uneasy that night. Every sound from the ship echoed in the darkness. Dreams of star battles, strange planets, and alien skies filled his mind. He woke with the sun, ready to continue. The desert had given him a gift, a companion older than time itself. As he prepared to enter the ship again, Ethan felt a thrill he had never known. He was not just a man in the desert. He was a partner in awakening an ancient sentient machine, and somehow he knew that once fully awake, the ship would change everything. He looked out at the endless dunes, taking a deep breath. "Let's begin," he whispered. And with that, he stepped into the ship once more, ready to uncover its secrets and face whatever the universe had in store. The desert wreck had been silent for centuries, but with Ethan's voice, it had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. Ethan woke early to the harsh sunlight of the desert. The wind had settled overnight, leaving the sand smooth and golden. He packed his small supplies and climbed back onto the deck of the ship. The hum of the wreck greeted him, soft and alive, almost as if it had been waiting for him to return. He took a deep breath. Today, he would go deeper into the ship. Yesterday had only been the beginning. He did not know how much of the ship was functional, but he could feel energy pulsing faintly through the metal. The ship wanted to wake up, and he was the key. He started with the control room. The panels were old, dusty, and covered with alien scripts, but he had learned a few things the night before. He touched the buttons, moving his hands slowly, careful not to break anything. The ship responded with lights flickering along the walls. Lines of energy traced paths under the floor, like veins. Ethan felt a thrill. "Easy," he said aloud. "We take it one step at a time." The ship pulsed again, almost as if agreeing. Ethan took out a notebook and began sketching the patterns he saw on the panels. He traced the symbols, making notes of their movements. Some glowed when he pressed certain buttons, others remained dark. Slowly, he began to understand the language of the ship. It was strange, almost musical, but not impossible to read. Hours passed. Ethan ate a small meal and drank water from his pack, never leaving the room. The hum of the ship kept him company. At one point, a small section of the wall shifted, opening into a narrow corridor. A faint breeze passed through, carrying a smell of metal and old oil. Ethan walked through, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. The corridor led to a chamber filled with machinery. Large engines sat dormant, covered in dust and sand. Ethan ran his hands over the metal. The engines were old, but he could see the potential. With work, they could run again. He made a mental list of what he would need. Tools, energy cells, and patience. Lots of patience. "Do you remember anything?" Ethan asked the ship quietly. "About what happened? About why you stopped?" The hum shifted. Images appeared on the walls, flickering like a broken hologram. Ethan watched carefully. He saw ships flying across alien skies. He saw beams of energy and explosions that shook entire planets. He saw beings he did not recognize, fighting for reasons he could not understand. The ship's history was long. It had been built to protect, to explore, and to connect civilizations. But war had come. The ship had been forced into battle, watching allies fall and enemies strike. And then, one day, it had been abandoned, left to wait. Ethan's chest tightened. He had touched only the surface, but already he felt the weight of centuries. This was not just a ship. It was a witness, a record of history that humans could barely imagine. He spent days exploring. He found storage rooms with alien tools, strange metals that glowed faintly, and containers with fluids that seemed to hum with energy. He cataloged everything, careful not to damage anything. Every discovery filled him with excitement and fear. He was the first human to see this, to touch it. One evening, as the sun set behind the dunes, Ethan sat on the deck, looking at the stars. The ship pulsed beneath him, calm and steady. He wondered what it had seen, what it had felt, and he wondered what it wanted now. He decided to try something risky. He returned to the control room and connected a small energy cell he had brought with him. The ship responded immediately. Lights flashed, screens flickered, and a low voice hummed. It was not a warning. It was curiosity. "Do you trust me?" Ethan asked, his voice low. The hum grew warmer, almost comforting. He could feel it moving through the floor, up into his hands. The ship was alive, and it was responding to him. For hours, Ethan worked. He patched circuits with strips of metal, rewired panels, and cleaned sensors. It was slow and careful work. Every time he fixed something, the ship pulsed with life. He could feel its excitement, its relief. It had been alone for too long. Finally, the engine showed signs of activity. Small vibrations ran through the floor. Ethan smiled. "You can move," he whispered. "You just need more time." He decided to rest for the night, leaving the ship in a quiet state. He camped inside a small chamber, the hum surrounding him. Sleep came slowly. Dreams filled his mind with stars, with ships flying in formation, with alien cities of impossible shapes. He woke with the sun, ready to continue. The next days passed quickly. Ethan explored more of the ship, discovering hidden rooms, sleeping chambers, and areas that seemed to store data. He learned to read the patterns of the ship's lights and sounds, understanding its language slowly. It trusted him. One day, while inspecting a chamber filled with strange energy conduits, Ethan found something unexpected. A small, broken console displayed a map of the galaxy. He ran his finger across it. The ship had traveled across many systems. Humans had only just begun exploring these regions, but this ship had been everywhere. The hum of the ship grew louder, as if excited by his discovery. Ethan realized something. This was not just an old wreck. It was a library, a guide, a tool, and it was waiting for the right person to awaken it. He returned to the engines. They were complex, filled with alien mechanisms he had never seen, but he understood enough to make small adjustments. He patched circuits, replaced worn components with human-made tools, and cleaned debris from the machinery. The engines vibrated faintly. It was slow, but progress was clear. "Tomorrow," he said, "we will go further." The ship pulsed in response. He could feel anticipation. Night fell again. Ethan climbed to the top deck, watching the desert. Stars shimmered above, vast and infinite. He felt small, but in a good way. The ship's hum was steady beneath him, almost like a heartbeat. He realized that together they could do something incredible. He thought about the history he had seen in the holographic images, the wars, the battles, the lost civilizations. The ship had survived everything. And now, with him, it could move again. He felt proud, humbled, and responsible all at once. As he lay down to sleep, he spoke softly. "We will wake fully. We will move. And we will see the stars again." The ship responded with a gentle vibration, wrapping the deck in warmth. Ethan smiled, closing his eyes. For the first time, he felt a deep connection to something older and greater than himself, something alive. The next morning, Ethan worked at dawn. He climbed into the engines, replacing broken circuits and connecting small energy sources. The ship shuddered slightly under his hands, and he laughed quietly. He had never felt this alive, this capable. The wreck was becoming something more, and he was a part of it. Hours passed. The engines hummed steadily, lights blinked in patterns, and the ship seemed to breathe. Ethan could feel it watching him, learning from him, trusting him. He realized that humans had something unique. The ship responded to his voice, his touch, his mind. It had waited for a being that could understand it, and that being was human. Ethan spent the next week exploring every room. He cataloged strange tools, repaired machinery, and learned to interpret the ship's subtle communications. Every day the hum grew stronger, the lights brighter. Slowly, the wreck transformed into something alive. One afternoon, as he worked in the control room, the ship pulsed sharply. Images flashed across the walls, faster this time. Ethan watched in awe. He saw planets, alien cities, fleets of ships moving in formation. The ship remembered its purpose. It remembered its mission. Ethan realized that they were not just repairing a ship. They were awakening a being with memories, with knowledge, with power. The desert wreck was no longer silent. It had a voice, a mind, and a future. He looked out at the desert once more. The dunes were calm, golden in the sunlight. The wind carried a few grains of sand across the deck, but inside the wreck was alive, responding to him, waiting for the day it would move again. Ethan smiled. "We are ready," he whispered. "Soon we will fly." The hum grew louder, almost joyous. The wreck that had been silent for centuries had found its companion, and together they would awaken fully. Ethan had been working on the ship for several weeks. The desert around him was quiet, golden dunes stretching as far as he could see. The wreck, once silent and lifeless, now hummed with energy. Lights flickered along the walls and small systems of the ship had begun moving. The ship responded to his touch, his voice, and even his thoughts. One morning, a small fleet of human scouts arrived. Ethan saw their lights flashing in the distance. Mara Bennett was leading them. She was a pilot and a scout, strong and confident, with brown hair tied back in a practical braid. Her team had come to investigate the strange energy readings in this part of the desert. Ethan stepped out of the wreck, shielding his eyes against the sun. "Hello," he called, waving. "I'm Ethan Clark. This ship is safe." Mara frowned. "We don't know that," she said firmly. "It's a massive wreck. It could be dangerous." She landed her small hovercraft nearby, and her team followed, scanning with sensors. Ethan smiled. "I know it looks old, but it's alive. The ship can respond. It's sentient." Mara shook her head slightly. "Sentient ships are legends, myths. Are you serious?" Ethan nodded. "I wouldn't be here if it weren't true. Come and see for yourself." Cautiously, Mara and her team entered the wreck. Ethan led them through the corridors. The hum of the ship was stronger now, almost protective. It pulsed gently along the walls, as if warning them to be careful but also welcoming. Mara stepped forward, eyes wide. "It's moving," she whispered. Panels shifted slightly, lights blinking in sequence. The ship's energy flowed along the corridors like veins. Ethan pointed to a large room. "This is the control chamber. The ship is teaching me its systems. We can repair it together." The team studied the panels, their own sensors scanning. Mara touched a panel, and the ship pulsed in response. The lights brightened for a moment. "It's alive," Mara said slowly, disbelief in her voice. "It's really alive." Ethan smiled. "I told you." For the next few days, Ethan and Mara's team worked together. They repaired circuits, replaced broken components, and cleared debris. The ship learned from their actions, adapting its systems to human methods. Every day it hummed stronger, and every day the bond between human and machine grew. But the desert was not empty. Far above, scouts from an alien faction detected the energy signature of the awakening ship. They were scavengers, warlike beings who collected technology from dying civilizations. The ship's pulse had drawn their attention, and they were coming. Ethan noticed it first through the ship's sensors. "Something is approaching," he said, voice tense. "We're not alone. I see it on the scanners. Drones. Lots of them." She turned to her team. "Prepare for defense." The first wave of alien drones appeared above the dunes. They hovered in formations sleek and dangerous. They fired energy beams at the desert, sending sand flying in all directions. Ethan's heart raced. This was the first real test for the ship. He ran to the control room. Panels blinked frantically. The ship hummed, responding to his fear, his determination. "We can do this," he said aloud. "We have to protect ourselves." Mara and her team took positions near the main engines. They had weapons, but the drones were fast and numerous. Ethan realized that human creativity would be key. The aliens expected only machines to fight back. They did not expect humans to think, improvise, and adapt. Ethan touched the panels. The ship's lights pulsed in response. He ran his hands along a series of circuits, activating hidden defense systems. Turrets rose from the floor. Energy shields flickered to life, and a low hum filled the corridors. The ship was alive and ready. The first drones attacked. Energy beams struck the ship's hull, but shields absorbed the impact. Ethan guided the turrets, aiming at the drones. Mara and her team fired their weapons, using clever tricks to confuse the aliens. They set traps, lured drones into sand traps, and used the terrain to their advantage. The aliens were surprised. They had expected only a stationary wreck, not a sentient machine coordinated with humans. Every move Ethan made, every adjustment to the ship, turned the battle in their favor. Hours passed. The desert shook with explosions, energy pulses, and the hum of the ship. Ethan never left the control room. His hands moved constantly, repairing circuits, adjusting panels, and communicating with the ship. It responded instantly, almost like a partner in battle. Mara noticed something unusual. "The ship is learning," she said, shouting over the noise. "It's predicting the drone's movements. It's faster than we are." Ethan smiled, a mix of pride and exhaustion. "It's human. It responds to us, to our thinking. That's why it can adapt." Together, they fought back wave after wave. The drones fell one by one, caught in traps or destroyed by energy pulses from the ship. The desert was quiet again, save for the low hum of the wreck. After the battle, Ethan and Mara walked through the corridors, checking for damage. The ship seemed calm, almost relieved. It pulsed gently beneath their feet. They had survived. They had proven that humans, combined with this sentient machine, were stronger than the scavengers had expected. Mara turned to Ethan. "You were right," she said softly. "The ship is alive, and it trusts us. We can use it to explore, to protect, but we have to be careful. Others will come. I know, but we'll be ready. This ship, this wreck, it's more than metal. It's history, power, and hope. We can't let it fall into the wrong hands." The sun began to set over the dunes, painting the desert in shades of orange and gold. Ethan and Mara climbed to the top deck, watching the stars appear one by one. The hum of the ship was steady, almost joyous. It had survived battle, adapted to humans, and awakened further. Ethan placed a hand on the metal surface. "We've done it," he whispered. "We've started something amazing. And this is just the beginning." Mara nodded, eyes shining with determination. "We'll finish it. Together." Below them, the ship pulsed with energy, lights tracing along the hull like veins. It had learned to trust humans, to respond to their courage and creativity. Ethan felt a surge of pride. They had awakened more than a machine. They had awakened a partner, a guide, a living relic of a past long forgotten. As night fell fully, Ethan and Mara set up a small camp on the deck. The hum of the ship surrounded them, a steady, living heartbeat. They spoke quietly, planning their next steps. They would repair the engines fully, explore the galaxy, and protect this sentient being from anyone who sought to misuse it. Ethan thought about the images he had seen in the ship's memories: battles, planets, fleets, everything humanity had yet to encounter. He realized that with this ship, humans could reach further than ever before. They could explore the stars safely, guided by a being older and wiser than any human. Mara stretched and looked at the desert. "Tomorrow we continue," she said. "We finish repairing it, and then we see what it can do." Ethan smiled, feeling the hum beneath his hands. "Yes, tomorrow we fly." The wreck, once silent and lifeless, now pulsed with energy, knowledge, and trust. It had survived centuries, battled enemies, and now stood ready to move once more. But it was not just the ship that had awakened. Humans had shown it that courage, creativity, and determination were powerful weapons. They had changed it forever. The desert was quiet, and the wind carried soft grains of sand over the dunes. But inside the wreck, life and energy thrummed. Ethan and Mara had proven themselves. Together, they could awaken the full potential of the ship. And soon the galaxy would see what they had discovered. Ethan lay down on the deck, looking up at the stars. The hum of the ship was calm, steady, and strong. "We did it," he whispered. "We really did it." Mara sat beside him. "Yes," she said softly. "But this is just the beginning. The universe is waiting." The wreck had been silent for centuries. Now it had a voice. It had humans to guide it. And together they would face whatever came next, ready to explore, protect, and awaken the full power of a being older than time itself. The desert night stretched endlessly, stars sparkling like diamonds. The hum of the ship echoed in the stillness, a promise of what was to come. Ethan and Mara knew one thing for certain: the galaxy would never be the same. Mara checked the sensors. "Ethan, the energy readings are off the charts. This ship, it's alive in ways I've never seen." He smiled. "It's not just alive. It's human, in a way. It understands, it learns, it adapts. That's why it responds to us." The day passed with careful preparations. Ethan and Mara guided the ship through its first full system test. They powered up the engines gradually, monitoring energy flow and stability. The ship hummed, adjusting itself to human methods. It was learning faster than any machine should. By nightfall, the ship was ready. The desert was quiet, and stars shimmered above. Ethan and Mara stood on the top deck, looking at the dunes stretching endlessly. "It's time," Ethan said. "We see what it can do." They entered the control chamber together. Ethan touched the main console, and Mara followed his movements. The ship responded immediately, lights tracing along the panels, energy flowing smoothly into the engines. The hum grew stronger, almost like a roar. Ethan pressed a sequence of buttons he had devised, a combination of human logic and intuition. The engines thrummed, vibrating beneath their feet. The ship lifted slightly off the desert floor. Sand shifted and tumbled beneath it. Ethan laughed, a sound of pure joy. "We're flying," he shouted. "We're really flying." Mara's eyes widened. "I can feel it. The ship. It's alive, and it's moving." The ship lifted higher, hovering above the dunes. Its full size became visible in the starlight. Centuries of rust and damage seemed to fade under the energy flowing through it. The wreck that had been abandoned and silent now shone with life, a beacon of power and knowledge. As they stabilized, Ethan accessed the ship's memory archives. Holographic images filled the chamber. Planets, stars, alien civilizations, and fleets appeared. The ship had traveled across the galaxy, seen battles, and witnessed the rise and fall of entire worlds. Ethan absorbed the knowledge, understanding that humans had only just begun exploring the galaxy, while this ship had already touched countless systems. Mara looked at him, awe in her eyes. This is beyond anything we imagined. Ethan nodded. And it's ours to guide. With it, we can protect humanity, explore the stars, and maybe help others along the way. Suddenly, the sensors alerted them. Small signals appeared on the scanners. Alien ships, similar to the drones they had fought before, were approaching. The ship hummed in response, almost eager. Ethan smiled. Looks like the galaxy wants to test us again. Mara gripped the railing. Are we ready? Ethan touched the console. We are humans. And this ship is alive. That's all the readiness we need. The first alien ship appeared on the horizon. It was larger than the drones before, sleek and menacing. Ethan and Mara guided the ship into a defensive position. Energy shields flared, turrets rose from the hull, and panels shifted to optimize defense systems. The ship responded instantly, faster than any human commands alone could manage. The battle began. Aliens fired energy beams, aiming to disable the ship. Ethan maneuvered, weaving the ship through the desert's terrain. Turrets fired, beams deflected, and shields absorbed impacts. Mara coordinated with Ethan, giving commands to the human team. Every move was a combination of human creativity and the ship's advanced systems. Now, the aliens were surprised. They expected a wreck, an immobile target, not a sentient ship that could think, learn, and fight with humans as partners. Every attack they launched was countered by clever strategies, traps, and precise timing. Hours passed. The desert shook with energy impacts, the hum of the ship blending with explosions and alarms. Ethan felt alive, more than ever. Humans had adapted, and the ship had learned from them. Together, they were unstoppable. Finally, the alien ships retreated. Ethan and Mara breathed heavily, watching as the last ship disappeared over the dunes. The wreck pulsed gently, almost like it was satisfied. It had defended itself, its humans, and the desert. Mara smiled, leaning on the railing. We did it. Together. Ethan nodded. Yes, and this is only the beginning. The galaxy is wide, full of danger, full of wonders. We can explore, protect, and learn. And this ship, it will help us. They spent the night preparing for the journey ahead. Ethan accessed the ship's archives again, learning about star systems, energy sources, and civilizations. Mara helped plan navigation and strategies. The human team set up routines to maintain the ship. Every step made the bond between humans and ship stronger. By dawn, the ship lifted higher, leaving the desert behind. Sandstorms swirled below, but they were far above now. Stars stretched endlessly in every direction. Ethan stood at the deck, feeling the wind against his face, the hum of the ship beneath him. We're ready, he said. The galaxy is ours to see. Mara stood beside him. And ours to protect, she added. The ship pulsed, lights tracing along its hull. It had awakened fully. It could fly, fight, explore, and learn, but it had also learned something unique about humans. Courage, creativity, and determination were qualities it had never encountered in any machine or alien before. Humans were special. Ethan smiled. Then let's show it what we can do. Together they navigated through asteroid fields, past strange planets, and across nebulae. The ship responded instantly to their commands, adapting to new challenges, avoiding dangers, and analyzing systems far beyond human understanding. Every planet they passed, every system they explored was a lesson. The ship remembered and learned, while humans innovated and improvised. On one distant planet, they discovered a small colony under attack by alien scavengers. Ethan and Mara coordinated with the ship to defend the colony. The wreck moved with incredible precision, disabling alien weapons and protecting the people. For the first time, humans and ship worked as one in a new era of exploration and protection. The colonists stared in awe as the ancient wreck, once silent, now moved with life, defending them. Children pointed at the lights. Adults whispered stories that would grow into legend. Ethan and Mara watched from the control chamber, pride filling them. "We've changed things," Mara said softly. "Yes," Ethan agreed. "And we're just getting started." Days, weeks, and months passed. Ethan, Mara, and the human team continued to explore, learning from the ship, protecting colonies, and facing dangers across the stars. The wreck had become more than a ship. It was a partner, a guide, and a living archive of history. And humans had proven that their creativity, courage, and determination could awaken even the oldest, most silent beings. The desert wreck that had once been silent now carried its humans across the galaxy. Every system it visited, every danger it faced, was a testament to the bond between life and machine. It had waited centuries, and now it had found its purpose again. Ethan stood on the top deck one night looking at the stars. The ship hummed beneath him, steady and strong. Mara joined him, her eyes reflecting the glow of distant planets. "We've done it," Ethan whispered. "We've awakened something incredible, and the galaxy will remember us." Yes, humans are stronger than they know, and this ship, it's proof of that. The wreck pulsed beneath them, alive, aware, and ready. Humans had shown it that courage and determination could awaken the impossible. Together they would explore, protect, and discover wonders across the stars. The galaxy would never be the same. Ethan smiled, feeling the hum beneath his hands. Then let's see what comes next. The desert, the stars, the endless possibilities. They were all waiting. And the wreck, once silent, now had a voice guided by humans, full of hope, courage, and life. The adventure had just begun.